So hi everyone, welcome to the Ophiuchus Therapeutics channel on YouTube and on Instagram. So we are going to finally start talking about the first diagnostic skills that I would like you all to acquire. And finally, the first topic is going to be the amygdala. And why have I chosen this beautiful organ, this gland to work with? Because it's actually one of the main functions that we have in the body and that we can use to perceive and to interact with our own senses. What does this mean? It means that perhaps the amygdala is related to the fight and flight mode, which is the most important alarm mode that we're ever going to have in our body to protect us, to use our senses in a much more primitive but also in a very intuitive way. So the origin of the word, there are actually two major relations to this word, but to describe exactly how the amygdala is located, it belongs actually to the limbic system, which is the most ancient system that we have. And what does that mean? The word itself means almond, so there are two small almond shapes glands on each side of our hemispheres of our brains. And this is the reason why I believe it's important for you to understand the relationship of the communication itself, which belongs to a region of the brain that is connected to, at least it's believed in the scientific community, to be related to 13 region brains parts. So it's very important to understand that this is the system that we use to connect the rest of our other senses related to the other organs that our body is built to protect us. And if we don't use the sensory organ to understand the relationship that we have between the other organs, because it's connected again to the fight and flight mode. And what does that mean? It means that it's connected to the most ancient emotions that we will ever have, which is the fear and the anxiety mode. So the fear, it's the feeling that you have before or in the present moment that you are perceiving a danger in your life. But the anxiety mode is when you are predicting something like that to happen. So in one hand, you have a skill that you can fight. And on the other hand, you have the skill of flight, which is the prediction mode. This is the reason why it's important, because it's also connected to the other respiratory systems that we have. And what it means is that whatever disease you might develop in the throat region area of your body, it's what is going to restrict you also to eat, to breathe, and to think as well. This is the reason why I've chosen this topic. And I know it might be a little bit boring to start at first sight to understand what is exactly the importance of it, but you need to remember, if you don't eat, you don't manage to survive, and if you don't talk or breathe, you're not able to think first, so then you can shout or express your other feelings and emotions, like singing or calling someone, or telling someone how much you love them, or expressing someone how much you are hurt and how much you need attention to whatever point you need to your life. This is the reason why it's important, because it's not only romantic glands that you can use, it's connected to each every single organ that you have in your body. And this is the reason why it's important. It's important because you are learning how to deal with your own emotions, but society is telling you to not do it at all. So what does that do to the entire body system? It will completely shut the body off, specifically the throat region area of your body. So again, if you are blocked, if you are restricted from talking, from eating, and from breathing, which is actually the main pathway for you to think, what is really going to happen to you? It's like a snake. It's surrounded and is restricting your throat area, and you are really in a survival mode skill, which is going to really trigger many other diseases in your body system. You might not be aware, it might not be immediately, but it will be along the way. So the limbic system, like I said, is one of the most ancient region of our brain. It's connected to what many call the reptilian region brain, but do not get scared about the word. Is actually one of the best functions that we can use. And the reason why I am trying to make awareness of this matter is because you need to understand that even if you only pick tonsillitis, which in the case of the English sense pathology terminology way, we use it to describe the extension, the direct extension of the amygdala, which is this cerebral brain region. And many times we do not understand how do we pick these weird diseases, this swallowness and the inflammation that we get. Because we can pick so many other things. We can pick pharyngitis. We use a terminology in Portuguese itself, which is amygdalitis, or amygdalite, not amygdalitis, but amygdalite. Amygdalitis is not a word that many use in English word, by the way, but we use the direct word to describe what is already happening by the brain or cerebral point of view. And this is the reason why it's important to address all these subjects, because we need to understand that whatever other disease you might pick regarding the respiratory system, in terms of the emotional side, and this is the reason why I'm doing this main series of the diagnostic skills that you can perceive, you can acquire by yourself, by your own senses, is that if you make an analysis, if you make your own meditation process to analyze the previous months, the previous weeks, or even the previous days of you getting sick, and I mean getting sick by any other respiratory system disease, you will notice that you will get this swallowness in the tonsils. And it's important to pay attention to it, because it's a sign, again, that you're being restricted from your process thought. And this is what the society tells you to do, is not to argue, not to give your opinion, not to express your feelings to even a coworker. You just shouldn't do it because your boss might looking at you. You might be spied by your teacher or a friend or a family member, and you just by your own protective process, you just shut your chakra, the communication chakra region, which is your throat. You just don't speak, you don't say anything, you just shut your mouth and keep moving on with your life. And that's not what you should do. That's what the society though tells you to do, but that's not what your heart is telling you to do. So the heart is one of the most important organs that we are restricting not only your throat, but you are restricting whatever part of your body is telling you to not restrict. And this is the reason why. And from the Ayurvedic perspective and from the homeopathic perspective point of view, you have this triology that you need to pay attention. And like I said on the beginning, I'm going to focus a little bit more on the Ayurvedic aspect point of view, more than the homeopathic, because it's much more easy, it's the most ancestral, and that's what make you look for nature in a much more natural way. But also many terminologies that were acquired by the homeopathy explain exactly the same thing. Might be in a much more difficult way to express on the beginning of this first series, but I will try. And the first, and to start, to begin with, I will use the Ayurvedic dosha system, which is the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha that most of you might know. And for you to pick this kind of signals, these manifestations that the disease is showing to you, you will see that, for example, a Kapha person is the most thick person in the constitution that you might have. And by the way, we call it constitution from the Prakriti perspective point of view. What does that mean? It means that the Prakriti is what you already hereditage from your mom's womb, and this is the morphology that most of the nutritional therapists are talking nowadays. It's becoming very popular, but the most ancient thing that we can talk and speak about, it's in regards to these doshic stages that we have. And by the way, we have the 3 doshas anyway, and we in Ayurveda, we consider the 5 elements, which would be the earth, the water, the fire, the air, and the ether. And because we consider these 5 elements in our own body, the 3 doshas already have these 5 in each one of it. And it's important to address that in case of Kapha, we have the water and the earth. And it's important to understand that this is what is the most important thing to do, is to understand that for the Kapha type, because it's the body is thicker, in order for the body to get rid of the toxins, you will try to expel what is already in excess. So it's interesting to understand how we can even perceive our own body. And by the way, you might compare this in terms of the homeopathic system more towards the realm of the mineral realm, and we have also the 3 realms as well. So it would be the mineral, you would have the animal realm, and then you will have the vegetable realm. So these 3, in comparison to the Ayurvedic, you have the Kapha, which would be most prone to be compared to the mineral realm. And this thickness, it needs to be expelled. So when you will see a Kapha person trying to expel whatever the respiratory system disease it will get, you will see more of a type of expelling spit. The person will spit, the person will try to get rid of the toxins in the way that it will be thicker, whatever it will be expelled from the body. So you will recognize it in this way. And by the time you see the person having this kind of behaviors, you will understand that it can be more physical, it can be even throwing up, because the body is thicker. It needs to get rid of the toxins in this drastic way. okay? But you will see other things. For example, now passing to the Pitta constitution, you will see that the Pitta will go straight to bed with a high, huge fever. And why is that? Because in order for the Pitta constitution to get rid of the toxins, because it's connected to the Tejas, which is the fire sign, in regards to the elements, you will see that it will have to raise the temperature so it can kill the bacteria. And this is how you can recognize the Pitta constitution and how the Pitta will do to get rid of the toxins. And that's how the behavior will manifestate in their bodies. So you will see it in this way. And to compare to the homeopathic system, you will see more of these symptoms also in the animal realm. And the animal realm, because it's a realm of surviving, of fighting, and an animal will have to act in the exactly same way to get rid of the toxins. But this is just a random small comparison, because there's so much more details deeper into these subjects. And along the way, we will develop more, and I'll get into details. And if you also have some questions, you can drop a message or a comment, and I will try to answer as well. But to explain again, coming back again to the Ayurvedic perspective point of view. So after you have these manifestations in the Pitta, what you will see on the last dosha, which is Vata, you will see that the person will sneeze, because it's related to the air element. Once it's related to the air element, you will see that a person will be much more prone to sneeze or to cough, but without spelling, like you would see in the Kapha person constitution. So it's interesting to see the comparison again with the homeopathic system regarding the realms of what you would say would be the realm of a plant to act in this kind of way, because even the way of a plant surviving without the element of air, it would be impossible. The only way for a plant to reproduce itself, it would be by the air itself, or by another animal that will travel from by air from one flower to another, or one tree to another tree. So this is the reason why I think it's important for you to understand the differences between these three elements that we use to understand the constitution of the person, which, by the way, we can look at it in regards to at least 50% of the genetic morphology constitution that the person already have from birth. And it's important to understand, because we have different stages along our life, and the same thing is going to happen with the disease itself. It's going to manifestate in different ways. We are not the same. This is the reason why I'm doing this series of videos, because we need to connect this in our own brains. We need to understand that we are not the same once we get a disease that looks similar to another person, though we have different symptoms. We have different ways of getting rid of these toxins. And it's so important to understand how our own body is acting, because most of the therapists do not analyze things from this perspective. And this is a huge mistake, because once we prescribe something and it's not going to have the same effect from one person to another, we make people believe that is actually going to happen like it would be a miracle, but it's not. We need to explain the procedures, most of all because we are responsible for our own healing, and you as a therapist as well are responsible to give this consentment, this informed consentment about what is going to happen to the person's body, because the person itself needs to get conscious. We need to have conscious about our own bodies, because it's our own bodies. And this is the reason why most of the patients, by the way, the patient itself word means that you need to be patient to pass through this stage of your life, which is going to throw you to the bed, restricting you from work, restricting you from being with your kids and with your family and working and doing so many other things. And it's going to obligate you to think, to meditate, to reflect upon what really happened these few months, few years, few weeks, few days before you got into bed. This is the reason why it's important. Because as a therapist, we might only do half of the job, because people are used to get into the allopathic system and asking for a pill to treat them. It's not going to happen the same thing once you go to our consultation rooms. It's not going to be like that. If the therapist is really an honest person and a professional person, he's going to tell you. There is no other way. He needs to tell you, and this is informed consentment, because this is not our body, this is another person's body, and before we are therapists, we are teachers, whether people like it, whether people do not like it. And I'm very straight about these processes, because it's time that